Well, I applied to a project which was very cancer focused. And so the projects I applied to in Martin's lab was trying to understand mechanisms of therapeutic resistance in breast cancer, which is, a very horrible aspect of breast cancer, the fact that women who believe themselves to be cured can actually reoccur 15 to 20 years later. And we still don't really understand the mechanisms which lead to those reoccurrences. And so I applied to EMBL. I applied to a program where we were specifically going to be focusing on cancer biology. I have to say, as a scientist, I like to consider myself a little bit more fundamental in terms of my approaches, although I believe that something like 99% of therapeutics which make it to market today are based off of basic research. I believe that it's really important to fund and support basic science, understand basic mechanisms that can eventually lead us in that direction. My background wasn't necessarily cancer biology. I just like the questions that you can ask within the context of that model and hope that you can make a difference someday.
Yeah. No, but then certainly the problem, you were making the point of fundamental biology, but I think, in the specific idea of finding, what are the mechanisms of resistance to a drug, the way forward would only be fundamental biology, right? You have to understand the processes in order to understand what is going on. So do you still work on that aspect, and are you moving towards more practical issues, or going forward you want to be still in the fundamental biology area?
Well, I like asking really apparently simple questions, and so I enjoy working more among these fundamental questions. So nowadays we're asking questions about what are some of the tumor the ecological niche of a tumor, what is it, and what are the interactions which help form it. We're asking questions about how the biophysical properties of the cell and the environment can impact upon the physiology of the cell and the tumor itself. And so we're still asking very, very fundamental questions. The harsh reality is that funding is not easy. And so if you want to ask fundamental questions, you very often have to place it within the context of a disease, because funding for the pursuit of knowledge for the sake of knowledge is very, very difficult to find, particularly here in Italy. And so we are, of course, always focused on how our research could be leveraged to develop further understanding of our disease models, in this case cancer. But I still am very fairly committed to asking basic questions.